Welcome to today's explainer. Okay, so we all know that insects, like bees and butterflies, are absolute pros at helping flowers, right? You see them buzzing around all spring and summer. But today, we're exploring a completely different kind of invisible magic, stuff that's happening right under our noses, or actually, scratch that, right above our heads, in the breeze.
So it really makes you wonder, what happens when no insects visit? Seriously, zero bugs. How in the world do these plants manage to reproduce without a single buzzing bee or colorful butterfly to help them out? Well, it turns out some flowers have a totally different strategy.
Part 1. The pollination mystery and how plants actually do it.
To get to the bottom of this, we gotta remember what pollination actually is. Simply put, it's the transfer of pollen from the anther to the stigma. That transfer is the ultimate goal because that's exactly how a plant eventually produces its seeds. No transfer, no next generation. But what exactly are those specific plant parts again? Well, think of the anther as the plant's very own little factory. It's the part of the flower that creates that fine powder we call pollen. Every single grain of pollen literally starts its life right there on the anther. And then, on the receiving end, we've got the stigma. You can picture the stigma as a sticky landing pad, just waiting eagerly to catch that flying pollen. For this whole thing to work, the pollen has to make the journey all the way from the anther over to a stigma. Which brings us to part 2, Journey on the Wind, as pollen takes flight.
Let's track a single tiny pollen grain on an epic 6-step journey. First up, the anther produces the pollen. Then, step 2, that powder becomes loose. Step 3 is where the real magic kicks in. The wind blows. Step 4, the pollen is lifted up and carried right through the air. Step 5, it finally hits that sticky stigma on another flower. And step 6, boom, pollination successfully happens. All thanks to the breeze. No insects required at all.
Moving on to part 3, plant adaptations and their special features. To pull this off, these wind-pollinated plants have some serious biological superpowers. Superpower number 1, small and dull-colored petals. Now you might be thinking, why? Well, it's because they just don't need to show off. Bright colors are meant to act like giant neon signs to attract bugs. Since the wind literally couldn't care less about pretty colors, these flowers save their energy and just stick to small, simple petals. Their second superpower is actually about what they don't have. They have absolutely no scent and no nectar. Nectar is that sweet, sugary liquid plants use to feed visiting bugs. But since no hungry insects are coming to hang out, making sweet smells and sugary nectar would be completely pointless. So they just don't waste the energy making it. And here's a really fascinating one. The pollen itself is highly specialized. It's incredibly small, smooth, and super light, so the wind can catch it and carry it for miles. But here's the kicker. The plant makes lots and lots and lots of extra pollen. Since the wind is totally unpredictable, a ton of those grains just get lost. To make sure at least a few hit the target, the plant has to churn out massive amounts of this lightweight powder.
Part 4. Famous plants that are wind-pollinated.
You might be surprised by this, but grass, rice, wheat, corn, bamboo, these incredibly common plants all rely primarily on the wind. Honestly, that means a huge chunk of the food we eat every single day, like a bowl of rice or a piece of corn on the cob, only exists because invisible breezes are out there doing the hard work.
Part 5, Wind versus Insects in a side-by-side comparison. This really highlights the ultimate showdown. On one side, insect pollination. Those plants have bright colors, sweet scents, yummy nectar, sticky pollen, and bugs to carry it. On the totally opposite side, we've got our wind pollination champions. Small flowers, dull colors, no scent, no nectar, mountains of smooth, light pollen, and the invisible wind as the pollinator. It's just two incredibly different but brilliant survival strategies. So why does all of this actually matter? Well, once pollination successfully happens, fertilization takes place. That's when seeds form, fruits can develop, and totally new plants start to grow. If we didn't have wind pollination, whole ecosystems, and honestly, our human food supply would completely collapse. All right, part 6, it is time for a rapid-fire pop quiz to test your knowledge.
Question number 1. Who carries pollen in wind pollination? Go ahead and shout it out if you know the invisible hero of our story.
If you said the wind, you hit the nail right on the head. The wind does absolutely all of the heavy lifting and transportation for these flowers.
Okay, ready for question 2? Do wind-pollinated flowers need nectar? Think back to those plant superpowers we talked about.
That's right. The answer is a big no. No nectar is needed at all, simply because there are no bugs to feed. It would just be a total waste of the plant's energy.
All right, last one. This is the trickiest question. Let's see if you remember. Why do wind-pollinated plants have to make such huge amounts of pollen?
They make huge amounts because honestly, the wind isn't exactly aiming. So many pollen grains are just completely lost during the trip. They literally have to release thousands upon thousands of grains just to guarantee a few lucky ones actually stick the landing on another flower stigma. So I want you to look at the world just a little bit differently today. Next time you step outside and feel that breeze hitting your face, I want you to imagine the millions of tiny, invisible pollen journeys happening right there in your own backyard, helping the plants around us grow. It's pretty wild, right? Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. Keep asking questions, and I will catch you on the next one.